I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. Thaddeus McCotter, my colleague and co-host, WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes. Thaddeus, it's Hillary Clinton for America Day. Are you excited in Detroit?
No, the Tigers lost to the Pirates.
Now, wait a minute. You've had a great start to the season. I was certain you were going to be unhappy because they were winning too much, but now they lose and you're unhappy.
Well, welcome to Detroit, John.
Besides, I'm thinking today that this was the Pirates opener, right? And I have to speak to Selena Zito tomorrow night. She's just coming back from an interview with Jeb Bush, and I want her to be in a good mood, and she will be in a good mood. And beating the Tigers is a good thing. Don't you agree, Thaddeus? That's a good team.
No, you're showing your roots, Bachelor.
All right, fine.
I'm showing your roots. Go Altoona Curve.
I'm faking what I learned from my colleagues here who actually follow baseball. But in any event, we're going back to sports because Mrs. Clinton is driving, or has already driven, or is en route to Iowa to campaign. However, yesterday was a surprising cacophony of signals from Mrs. Clinton's campaign because there was an email from Mr. Podesta. There was another email from Mr. Podesta. Then there was a website that was incomplete. Then there was a 2-minute video. Any of this make an impression upon Detroit Tiger fans, that is?
No.
Okay. So we welcome Liz Peek of the Fiscal Times. Liz, Thaddeus is a very hard audience, so I start with him because I come to you about Mrs. Clinton's campaign. I want to wind you up, Liz, because you have a wonderful column in the Fiscal Times about how Mrs. Clinton's going to raise a great deal of money. Tonight, in the Washington Post, everyone can go to their Washington Post online. These are the reviews from the Washington Post columnists. This is her team. This is the Democratic Party. Richard Cohen writes, Icky commercial she used to announce her candidacy was hardly a position paper. Then we have Ruth Marcus, who writes, the video was relentlessly, insultingly vapid, a Verizon commercial without the substance. That's good. And finally, Eugene Robinson, who's very much in favor of a Clinton administration till another 10 years of the Clintons following Mr. Obama, writes that the presentation, the video, was choreographed launch was overthought, overproduced, and in the cosmic scheme of things, not terribly important. Now, Liz, I would turn it over to you, except for The Guardian has gone and called up our mayor, Bill de Blasio, in New York, and asked him what his thoughts were as Mrs. Clinton rolls out her campaign. And it's surprising to hear from Mr. de Blasio that he says of the Clinton campaign, it has to include progressive taxation. This is from the mayor of New York, who ran Mrs. Clinton's campaign in New York back in the 20th century. And Zephyr Teachout, who ran for governor to the left of Bill de Blasio. I was not particularly impressed with it, meaning the rollout. Liz, with friends like that, who's supporting Mrs. Clinton? Good evening to you.
Good evening, John. I almost feel like I have to defend her here.
Yes, I know.
Look, all these, the progressives, the left wing of the party, they don't like Hillary Clinton. They would like to see either someone come out like Liz Warren and represent their views, or they want to push Hillary very far left. And it's possible that they're going to end up doing that. As to the video, I thought it was absolutely perfectly Hillary Clinton. And if people are expecting an exciting, policy-driven, authentic campaign, get over it. It's not going to happen. It's going to be scripted, controlled. They're going to keep Hillary away from crowds and questioners as much as they possibly can. They're going to have her darling granddaughter draped around her neck as ornamentation, and she's going to be in this idiotic minivan. It's like Scott Brown and his pickup truck. I mean, really, it makes my hair stand on end. The whole thing is so ghastly, and yet the only thing they have, the reason Hillary is the candidate, is she's going to raise a huge amount of money. And that's, for a party, a political party that is so scornful and derisive about people buying their way into political office, it's an amazing hypocritical situation here, it seems to me, because that's what she's got.
Thaddeus?
Yes, you make a very good point. The Democratic Party is the party of redistribution, class warfare, and economic envy. They sure do like some rich people, don't they? And they sure do seem to attract them. Who are some of these enlightened, ennobled, rich, and self-appointed guardians of us peons?
Well, look, I think I think actually the contrast with Rubio's announcement, where he talks about his very humble beginnings and talks in the passionate way that only the children of immigrants tend to use when they talk about this country. He is authentic and genuine. He may not be the best candidate, but it really, I thought, highlighted this terribly manufactured composite that is Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is a person who talked to 200 advisors about what to do about poverty. Don't you think at age 67 she would have some of her own views about how to strike at poverty in America? I think that was just such a great data point.
Liz, is the party going to support her less with money or more with money? Because right now we have evidence from the Washington Post that the lead columnists in the Washington Post are not supporting her right away. I mean, everything's a first impression here, but still, this is less than hurrah.
Well, again, I think that they would like to have somebody else to run, right? I mean, I don't know whether it's Liz Warren. I don't think it's Martin O'Malley, but possibly he'll emerge as a serious candidate here. But you have to be, if you're a lifetime Democrat and you really believe in let's say the campaign promises made some years ago by President Obama, you believe in the whole thing, I think you have to be disappointed that this is the best you can come up with. Someone who, after all, has very close ties with Wall Street, has such enormous trust issues, who's a hawk militarily. I mean, how does she really represent today's Democrats? I don't see it.
Thaddeus, is her party going to allow her to fail? Will they do that in order to make a point about the progressive argument, the fair play and income inequality? Will they let her fail because she's identified with money?
No, certainly not. Certainly not. There's so many different segments of the Democratic Party. I do think that you're correct, and Liz is correct that the left would do that. The hard left would allow her to tank to make that point. However, the vast majority of the rank-and-file Democratic Party would not want that to happen, and they will grit their teeth and vote for her, even though, as has been pointed out, nobody really knows what she stands for other than election.
All right, they're going to grit their teeth, and Liz, you're saying they're going to hold their nose. This is not an excited crowd. This is certainly not Barack Obama's applause from 2008 and 2012. Liz, is she gritty enough to get through this with people turning away and not showing up and writing the check and say, here, do I have to actually show up at the party, or can you just take the money from me? Is that enough for Mrs. Clinton?
Well, I think it's going to be, actually, I think what's interesting is, will she raise all this money that people are so confident about? Because I've heard that some of the big Democratic donors are talking to Jeb Bush, for example. So who knows? Maybe they, and also the Clintons have not taken care of their donors. You hear this all the time, that people, in the old days, Penny Pritzker and other people who had done a great deal for the Clintons all of a sudden found themselves out in the cold, not part of the Clinton empire as it sort of waddled through the American political life. So, let's see. I mean, I did think it was very interesting that the New York Times came out with that astonishing projection that Hillary would raise $2.5 billion. Such a thing is unheard of in politics today or any time. So I don't know if they're setting her up to disappoint or what. But look, I think the big thing she has and what she's clearly going to be running on is that she's female, which I don't think is a platform, but what the heck, what do I know? There are 10 million more women voters than there are men voters. Men don't like Hillary Clinton very much, but so she is going to really go after women, and we're going to hear a lot about the war on women. I just hope whoever runs as a Republican isn't stupid enough to embrace policies that can really make that a clarion call. But that's going to be what she's running on. It's going to be very soft power, soft message. What I think is insulting, and I think what people are responding to in this video, I don't think she feels she has to try very hard. And I don't mean that she doesn't have to go across the country in a minivan, because for Hillary that is trying pretty hard. But I don't think she has to really be the message carrier or the policy guru because people aren't going to vote for her for that. They're going to vote for her because she's a woman.
Thaddeus, can a politician win without sincerity? To allow your party to elect you and you never had to expose or reveal your thoughts?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Yes, no. Can it be done? I have no presidential historical fact that says that it's been done before. Presidents leave nothing in the locker room. But you've observed Congress, and you've observed the Congress that Hillary Clinton observed when she was senator. Is it possible to run a campaign the way she's running right now and not believe what you're saying?
Well, she might believe what she's saying. She might not believe what she's saying. I think that the problem that you're addressing is her major concern is that you believe what she's saying, even if she doesn't. And can she pull that off? Now, the Elmer Gantrys of the world, or the past, the James Michael Curleys, the great orators that could spellbind you even as they were stealing out of your back pocket, they'd shake your other hand. I don't think she has that talent. I think that's what you're getting at. She's either going to get elected, I think as Liz says, on the basis that it's time for a female president, or she's not, because she's not going to be able to sell herself as embodying that which America believes is best about itself and that which it aspires to in the world.
Liz, are you surprised? We have 30 seconds here. You're surprised by how uninspiring yesterday was?
Yes, considering the money, time, and effort that went into it, yes. And, I mean, it's not as though she suddenly decided to run for president.
Right.
Yes, I thought it was really poor.
Liz Peek, writing for the Fiscal Times. Thaddeus McCotter, WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes. I'm John Batchelor.